Good evening and welcome as we celebrate together this Shavuot season. We open with a prayer. Now summer's prospect, the world ripening and growing softer, the promise of harvest fulfilled, the warming sun lies before us. Now the vision of Torah, the world at peace and growing gentler, the promise of goodness fulfilled, the loving heart lies open to the minds. We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish. If you're following along, it's on 392 in our prayer book. Amen. ובזמן קריב אמן יהי שמירה במבורך לעולם ולעלמיה יתברך
וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא
ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה בריחו
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה
תושבחתה ונחמתה דהמיהם בעלמה
ואמרו
Amen. We continue with the Baruch Hu, page 394 in your prayer book if you're following along.
La 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 la
La la la la la la la la la la la la la la la.
Sing with us.
La 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 la
ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברוך אתה אדוני לעולם ועד
Shavuot celebrates, of course, the giving of the Torah at Sinai. This moment, our eyes were awakened. We recognized what our purpose was on this earth as Jews. Of course, this prayer is a prayer that thanks God for bringing it on the evening. You can find it on 396. Our day begins with evening. That is the Jewish way. And although the sky might turn dark, the truth is that it is evening that opens our eyes the most. And so it is evening that gives us the sense of standing at Sinai together. The Ma'ariv Aravim.
Ma'ariv, Ma'ariv Aravim, Vitvuna משנה עצים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמורותיהם.
We ask you to rise We say together, how do we find God? We find God revealed in the order of the physical universe, in the compassion of the human heart, and in the guiding wisdom of the Torah. We sing together the Shema, page 400. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Leolam Avoid. We chant together the words of the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים Ani Adonai Elohechem. We take just a few moments, we pray silently the prayers and the thoughts, things we've been meaning to say. Yon libi lefanecha Adonai suri Adonai suri of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Amen. Well, friends, it is Shavuot, and we are thinking, of course, of the importance of standing together and reflecting on what it means to be responsible for one another, what it means to enter into a covenant not only with God but one another as well. I thought as a Shavuot treat that we would actually turn to our dear friend Rabbi Stacy Blank in Jerusalem to offer us an update on what is taking place in Israel. Israel is the embodiment, of course, of what Shavuot is all about, this idea of this place where people stand in obligation to each other. And perhaps nothing demonstrated that more than what took place just this past Shabbat, when, of course, there was a rescue mission, Operation Arnon, named in memory of the one Israeli soldier killed in that action. That brought home 4 hostages. I was doing a wedding on Saturday night, and I concluded the wedding by telling people the importance of not just, weighing our heads in the abyss of sadness, but celebrating moments like these that really reflect what it means to stand in obligation to each other. And so Stacy spoke to me recently, just a couple days ago, and I recorded the conversation. And she really provides an update not only on what's taking place, but also from her own personal experience. She talks a little bit about what her family was doing the day in which, of course, Iran attacked Israel and how they got through that day, and a little bit about Israelis' mentality, which is ever changing, but also in a sad way the same. So you'll take a listen to Stacy, and if anybody does have anything that they wanted to ask her, please send me your questions or your comments, and I'll be sure to get that over to her, and I'm sure she'll respond and get back to us. In the meanwhile, Cantor, Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach to all of you. Enjoy.
To you, Rabbi, and to our beautiful congregation. We love you.
We love you very much, and we will see you soon. Friday night, 7:30. We'll celebrate together. Take care, everybody. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. We are here with my dear friend, Rabbi Stacy Blank. As some of you know, I had the opportunity at the end of March to go to Israel. And as I do each time that I'm in Israel, I met up with Stacy, and she took me to services at a congregation she goes to quite often. And they spoke Hebrew way too fast for me, but it was still beautiful. And then afterwards, I had the opportunity, actually for the first time, to meet Stacy's family. I met her children, I met her husband. We had a lovely Shabbat dinner there, and then I left. And in the time since late March, much has happened. But let me begin by introducing my friend Rabbi Stacy Blank. Still education director for the World Union of Progressive Judaism. Is that your title?
Yes,
Okay.
the Director of Education and Leadership Development.
And leadership. Yeah, it should be leadership development comes first.
Actually, it does.
Does good.
It is our #1 priority. That's what we say. This world is desperately in need of good leadership. So we're working on it.
Good. So Stacy, thank you for being here. Thank you for updating us again. Can you give us a sense of what's going on right now? Israel is we had such great news just 2 days ago with the rescue of 4 hostages, albeit it was bittersweet. We know that one of the rescuers was killed. There's news with Benny Gantz leaving the coalition government. So give us a sense what's going on.
What's going on? In a way, it's a little more of the same. In a way, there was this spark of happiness over Shabbat and Saturday when we all received this wonderful news, and I'm sure you saw videos in different places around Israel how people were celebrating. But after a few hours, you go back to the reality of a soldier being killed and many wounded, and rockets constantly in the north, where most people aren't, but fires now in the north. It's very hot here. And before we even go into the political potential shakeup, I would say also it's still very much roller coaster for people. I just attended a gathering of rabbis, and I thought we were going to be talking about one thing, and it became kind of a testimony gathering, and you still feel like you don't know when you're just going to start to cry. I just ran into a friend I haven't seen in a few years in the supermarket, and I started to cry. Um,
Yeah, and
yeah.
people don't really, have it. Listen, I was in Israel at the end of March, and the trauma is just so real. It's all around, and uh, I think it's easy for us as American Jews to sort of pull away a little bit, especially with all of the other news that we're surrounded by. But the trauma is still very real in Israel and very much alive.
Yeah, but I want to clarify also because I know how it is to be far away. Another conversation that I had with someone this morning from New Zealand who was asking me, is it safe to come there? And and I would say that I live in Jerusalem and we've been down in the south over Pesach vacation. We've been, I've been in Tel Aviv over the weekend. If you don't turn on the news, and maybe you'll hear an occasional airplane overhead, you wouldn't walk around in your daily life knowing there's a war. We're very much living our everyday. The trauma is inside. The trauma is dealing over and over again with the loss, or the fear. Many friends who have children or knowing people themselves in reserve duty who are in Gaza right now, who are on the northern border, where most of us, honestly, we're safe right now. And we're so worried about those who are in danger. And for those, I can't say how many Israelis, but many, many of us are also very pained at the destruction that we see in Gaza and the violence in the West Bank between the army and the settlers and Palestinian militants. It's really, so every day we're walking around, but
Still
we
live.
know
Well,
what's
so, yeah,
we
but
know what's in the background.
right. And by the way, I did the trip that I was on recently. Misha Zinka, who organized it, just wrote me asking me about doing a congregational trip, and I sent it over to Anna Tarkanter, and really want to start exploring that. Um, is tourism. When I was there, there was, hotels were still bare. Are tourists starting to come back? Do you feel that there's a sense of people, and they're coming back mostly for trips to to talk about October 7th now, right? And talk about the aftermath.
Yeah, I always see there's every few months there's a shift. And I would say that when you came, but that was a few month period of a lot of what we would call, solidarity tourism. And there's still going to be more of that. But I think we now need to start thinking, in a little bit differently. Like, it's okay to come now and go to Masada and the Dead Sea.
Right.
And to enjoy that experience. I think Israelis really are very happy to see people come. And Israelis themselves, when our mission came and we were staying in Tel Aviv, and you go to the beach and you see people like playing volleyball and going to the beach. And that's again not to belittle the destruction and the devastation in Gaza, but we're dealing with what we have and we have to continue with our lives. And my kids should have as normal childhood as possible.
Yeah.
And
I was with a
and
couple this
yeah.
week, not the couple I was marrying, but another couple who were getting married, and they were planning to honeymoon in Israel. And they said that they were feeling incredibly guilty about it. They couldn't imagine sending, photos or putting up photos of themselves on beaches celebrating. But I think I tried to remind them that Israelis want you to be there. They want you to celebrate life. They want you to demonstrate that like you can still enjoy Israel.
Yeah, and I think that one big lesson, we talk about silver linings a lot, right? In COVID time, we're talking about silver linings. And I think if we talk about that, this now generation is using this word resilience, chosen, and we really see our strength when unfortunately when we have adversity. And with all of the war going on again in the background, there is so much resilience. There's so many lessons here and so many examples of people coming together, of supporting each other, of being there for each other, and of being strong and saying, okay, we move on, and we, like you said, we cherish life and we live our lives.
The Jewish way, right? The so can we get turn to the politics a little bit? Um, so we know that the Benny Gantz, centrist politician of the Resilience Party, right?
Is that the name of it? Okay. I don't remember. They change their names all the time.
Light, or yeah, there was something like that.
Yeah.
But
Center right party, yes.
that he left the Netanyahu, this coalition formed in the days after October 7th. It's not enough, I guess, to break the government, but what is this? What is the sense of where do people stand on Netanyahu right now, and this government, and what do people feel this sort of represents?
I just think the country is really divided. Um, much in the sense maybe like America, not in the same issues, but like that America is very, very 50-50, right? In the polls about the presidential election, to though similarly aged candidates, very different candidates. So I would say Israel is really, really divided. Um, and and it's until something, it's always a question, what will it really take to get us to elections? What will it take for this government to fall apart? They've proved themselves to be very, very tough, and digging in their heels to stay in the government. Um, and Netanyahu does have a base, and so as much as maybe our circles are very connected to the protests, which very quickly combine different issues. If you want to go out and support the hostage families and say we're here for you, that has now become two camps. There's the families of the hostages who want ceasefire now and say that's the only way to resolve this, and you're not going to topple Hamas. It's not going to happen. And you have families of hostages and families of victims, people who are killed, who say we have to fight till the end, and we have to pay whatever the price is worth it to uproot and throw out Hamas until there's nothing left.
Yeah, it's strange that a few months ago the talk here was this government's done. It's just when elections are going to happen, and just yesterday I heard an interview with it was an American journalist who was saying, Netanyahu has more strength than you think and more support than you think, especially when Israelis look at the choices they have. And that scares me. um, and as far as just imagining the future with such polarism, it's hard to imagine where we are in 6 months from now.
It's really hard to imagine where we're going to be 6 months from now. I mean, look where we were, 6 months ago. And we were, in January, December. I mean, I want to tell you, said you were here in March. Like, since then, we had this crazy night of the attack from Iran. Like, if you sit and think about it, I cannot believe what happened.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
mind-boggling.
Can you tell us? Can you give us a sense of what happened on that night for your family? So, as we were watching these, missiles and drones, where were you?
So we were out that evening. Actually, I took my husband to go to this like screening that this young artist had made a partnership with an artist in Gaza, and a few years ago, and they made a film about it, and they brought together the artist friends, and they made these videos, compilations of them like doing music together.
Wow.
And they delayed the screening because of the war, and then they decided the screening, and this Palestinian activist is now out of Gaza, and they brought him on, and we're having this conversation, and my husband is addicted to the news because he was
Yeah.
starting to look at his phone, and he said the rockets, they're because they had been threatening, and they had just canceled, like, oh no, yeah, they just canceled all these hikes and tiulim because it was vacation, and we're like, why are they canceling things, like, and then my husband says that the rockets are on their way from Iran, but it's going to take a few hours, should we stay? And I'm like, no, 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 we need to go.
Wow.
And we said to the kids, we like, there may be an alarm in the
Yeah.
middle of the night,
Yeah.
and they all went to sleep, and I was awake, and we don't have a bomb shelter or a safe room in our building. It's an old building. There's a bomb shelter across the street, and we usually just go to like a low place without a window in our house. If we hear an alarm, it's Jerusalem. But we decided we don't know what's coming, we will go across the street to the bomb shelter. So around 1 or 2 in the morning, so I start to hear the booms from the Dead Sea, and I'm like, okay, now it's like now or never. And then there was the azakot, the alarm, and we got up, went to the bomb shelter, met our neighbors for the first time,
Wow.
and
Wow.
and you hear the boom, 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 and then they all went back and went to sleep. It took me a few hours until I saw that everything had been destroyed. But it's really crazy to think that like 400 rockets were fired, or more than that, I don't know,
Yeah.
on
More than, yeah.
all the way from
Yeah.
Iran.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, it's really incredible. It was an incredible
Yeah.
show of defense and strength,
Yeah.
with allies. But it's just really like, on the one, you're like, oh, it's like there's so many game changers here, so many things that are different in this conflict this year than in other times. So it even feels hard to analyze it at this point, because we're really still, in the middle of it psychologically, and until the war like ends, and you see that, like, you see all the dragging of the feet with it, with the deal, right? Who is it fault? Is it our government? Is it Hamas?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know who can know. Only very few people can know what's really going on there.
The absence of clarity in all of this is truly unnerving, and you keep
Yeah.
having pivotal moments, the night of Iran's bombs, and the President Biden's, saying there's a deal that the Israelis have accepted, all these little big pivotal moments, and then it's like, right?
Yeah.
It keeps happening.
Exactly.
So it puts us in this position where we just don't know, and it's a that's a very scary place to be. Um,
Yeah.
so it's Shavuot as people are watching this, by the way.
Chag Sameach.
Sameach. But I've been thinking a lot about, so rabbis all over the world right now are starting to think and prepare for the high holy days, and start to think about sermons, right? And I was with a couple this weekend who were their Rabbi is Ami Hirsch, and they were telling me that he takes off the whole summer just to write his sermons. And I said, oh my God, first of all, I need that job. But also I started to think, just, what can I say? What can I say, A? And B, again, it's still months away. So what will be different, right? Whatever I say, So I don't know, what are the themes that are percolating in your own head as these days are going on?
I have two main things which I'm thinking about. Um, and one is something that we're beginning to think about also as a global organization for the reform progressive movement is October 7th, 2024 is coming up. And though Simchat Torah, right, is the Hebrew date, October 7th is the very virile kind of association. And that falls right between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which I think actually is very I'm not telling, very connecting, because that is the time of, right, but between the 10 days of repentance, the 10 days of contemplation, and really taking stock, and getting to Yom Kippur to kind of cleanse ourselves and clean the slate. So on the one hand, there's the really the human side of it, and it's the loss. And even though we've had people who have unfortunately been killed throughout the year, October 7th for me marks a day of Shiva, of Evel, of mourning. And this whole year feels like one long period of mourning. It may continue over the next year if people, God forbid, still being killed. But I feel I'm wondering where, when we pass October 7th, if we can start to, hopefully God willing, that war will end by then. So thinking about how we hold space of mourning, and how we heal from trauma, and everybody's trauma is their trauma, whether, first degree from a family from a kibbutz in the Gaza envelope, to the anti-Semitism people are experiencing around the world. It's your trauma, and to be with people, that's one. The other, which I know can be a difficult subject, but we have to face it, and that's something which we are working on in our work, and I hope I can perhaps eventually provide you with some resources, is what does it mean to be a lover of Israel, to be a progressive Zionist, and to not cancel these terms, but to engage in deep and thoughtful and embracing discussion, and embrace complexity, and to everybody who engages in the conversation to understand that there's so much that I don't understand. I live in Israel, and there's so much I don't understand. I don't understand as much your experience right now of what it means to be a Jew outside of Israel. In some ways, I feel very safe, and I worry about all of you walking down the street with a kippah or with a Magen David, with a Jewish star. So I think that we have to embrace Zionism, embrace what I call our progressive, our reform Zionism, a Zionism of social justice, a Zionism that embraces the Israel's Declaration of Independence, which is anti-racist, which is embracing the non-Jews who live among us. It's a peace-seeking nation. It's a nation where we have to defend ourselves. We will. A nation who tries to aspire to the vision of the prophets, and to be not better than other nations, but to call ourselves always to do it better. A nation of pluralism, of Jewish pluralism as well, and there is so much of that in Israel, and I hope that also rabbis can share that, and acknowledge the mistakes, and acknowledge the people who personally I think ought to be in jail, Jewish leaders who ought to be in jail, and are not good people. Right. But we have to look for the good, and we have to raise up the discussion, and bring our values to Israel, and be partners. We have responsibility. We have what to do, not to say no Israel. Okay, let's just erase it from the map. Okay, and we'll figure something out. No, how are we all part of tikkun? Tikkun olam, tikkun, that's me, fixing myself, fixing my community, and our Am Yisrael, the Jewish people. We're all responsible for each other.
I love that. Well, and that's Shavuot. Beautiful. Yeah, we're working right now to take a group of kids next year to Selma, Alabama, and to do the march from from Selma to Montgomery that Dr. King did, and I think remind our young people of our progressive values and connect them to our love of Israel. And that's under threat right now, and that is something that we need to stand up and add some clarity to. So thank you for that. Stace, thank you again for doing this and for always keeping us up to date and for giving me just a wonderful treat when I was in Jerusalem with your family. It was really wonderful to have a meal with you guys and to get to meet your kids and to even do some very esoteric trivia with them, which was in Hebrew and then translated to me. So
Yes,
I
not
really,
only dinner but urpan.
yes,
We're full
yeah,
service.
yes, exactly,
No, we
exactly.
love having you. Come again soon.
Well, I will. Thanks everybody. Well, and a Chag Sameach to everybody as we celebrate Shavuot this evening. Okay, I'll end it there.
Okay.
Thank you. That was amazing. So, okay, yeah, I want to plan. Listen, I'm trying to get back next year, so I'm working on when I'll come, and also we're working on maybe doing a congregational trip. So maybe next summer. So we'll
Look,
see.
if this isn't over by next summer, we've got bigger problems.
I know, I know. And I don't really
No.
want to, the challenge is I don't want to do a solidarity trip with people. I want it to be a trip to see Israel. I think that, and maybe part of it's certainly to talk about it. How can you not?
No, look,
But
I think that I don't know that where the next stage comes in, but I think the next stage is that the chip, like Israel, is going to be different from now on. It's there. It's going to take many years to go. Like maybe there was a sense of carefreeness maybe in the past 5 years. That is
yeah,
not coming back. Okay. And I think though the next phase is like you're planning your trip and maybe it won't just be like family fun in Israel, but it'll be something like meaningful
yes,
family being together in Israel, and you do all the fun things.
yep,
And then you will have, there'll be more like, let's do a day of volunteering,
right,
or we're going to bring something to a hospital of soldiers in rehabilitation. Like that will be more a
yep,
part of the trip. I certainly would not be bringing people to the Gaza envelope to do that stuff, to see what we see. That is done. By then, maybe there'll be a memorial to stop by on your way to meeting the farmers and planting trees.
right,
Like,
right,
but
right.
that window is closing of this touring Kfar Aza, and yeah,
Tourism, yeah, yes, yes. Which I felt was important, but nonetheless,
absolutely.
it's stuff
No, it'll be memorialized. You show them the documentary, you show them, right, but it's not going to be live.